Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What is the verse and chapter? 54. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Jayam Adiraye Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Utama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Idam Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Shakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishayasaya Lokasya Danyam Swastaya Namahat. So you say text 48. Yata Shayana Atmanam Vishayan Palam Eva Cha Anubhunkte Api Asati Arte Tatapnoti Abudo Bhavam Yata Shayana Atmanam Vishayan Palameva Cha Anubhunkte Pya Satyarte Tatapnotya Budo Bhavam Yata Shayana Atmanam Shayan Palameva Cha Anubhunkte Pya Satyarte Tatapnotya Buddha Bhavam. Apyapnoti Bo Bhavan Yata Shayana Atmanam Shayan Palameva Cha Omte Pyasatyarte Tatapnotya Buddho Bhavan. Any other? Yata Shayana Atmanam Shayan Palameva Cha Tapnat Yot Buddho Bhavam. Ladies. Yata Shayana Atmanam Vishayan Palameva Cha Te Prasatyarte Apnotya Buddho Bhavan. Yata as Shayanam, a sleeping person, Atmanam, himself, Vishayan, sense objects. Phalam, the fruits. Eva, indeed. Cha, also. Anubhunkte, experiences. Api, even. Asati, arte, in that which is not real. Tata, aprinoti, undergoes. Abuddha, the unintelligent. Bhavam, material existence. As a sleeping person perceives himself, the objects of sense enjoyment, and the fruits of his acts within the illusion of a dream, so one who is unintelligent undergoes material existence. Purport by disciples of Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Shruti, asango yenam apurusha, the living being has no intimate connection with the material world. This point is explained in the present verse. A similar statement is found in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11:22-56. Arte yavid yamane pi samsritir na nivartante jayato vishayan asya swapne narta gamo yata. For me, one who is meditating on sense gratification, material life, although lacking factual existence, does not go away, just as the unpleasant experiences of a dream do not. Om Gana Timirandasya Ganangana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Naman. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarane. Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Vyo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Trise Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya. Krishna Tvadiya Padapankaja Panjarantam Adyaivame Visatu Manasaraja Hansan Prana Pranama Samaye Kapavatta Pittai Kantavaro Tanavido Smaranam Taste. This is one of the nicest prayers and teachings how you're not the body. In the Bhagavatam is spoken by Lord Balaram, all merciful Nityananda, trying to pacify the mind of Rukmini. A little difficult to understand what condition she was in. Of course, she expected something to happen. She knew what she must know about when there's a kidnapping type marriage in the Vedic culture, in the Kshatriya culture, always some kind of fighting. So her brother, it's very strange, that Shishupal, who was supposed to marry her, he didn't chase after Krishna. And although he had hated Krishna his whole life, since he was born, he hated Krishna. And it was destined that Krishna would kill him already. That was already settled. But Rukmi, the brother, who was also against Krishna, his father wanted her to marry Krishna, and she wanted to marry Krishna. But somehow the brother was very powerful. Father couldn't deal with it. Something like maybe Ugrasena, Kamsa was so much more powerful than him. Even though he was the king, he had no power. So then Krishna, the brother had tried to attack Krishna. Krishna defeated him, but he didn't kill him. And he humiliated him. He tied him up and he cut his hair all funny and his beard, spotty. So he humiliated him worse than death for a Kshatriya. The Kshatriya could be killed in the fight, it's honorable. But if he had humiliated like that, it's not honorable. And Krishna did that to Jarasandha many times. But the demon's nature, Jarasandha would be defeated, he'd get back and his ministers would convince him that he wasn't really defeated, it was just a bad call by the referee or something. And, he should try again. And that was Krishna's arrangement. So the demons are like that. In previous ages, like the Digvijay Pandit, when he was defeated by Lord Chaitanya, he surrendered. He gave up everything, became a Vaishnava sannyasi, and wandered teaching Vaishnava teachings, and without his entourage, and he was a superstar. He would come into town there in Navadvip with elephants and people fanning him on both sides and trumpets, but somehow Lord Chaitanya arranged that he met him privately. Only a few of Lord Chaitanya's disciples were present. He didn't want to humiliate him. But Krishna, different, he wanted to humiliate Rukmi. But Rukmi sat there at that spot and then somehow became powerful again, created another kingdom. And then later Balaram, who was kind of defending him here, but he was actually preaching to Rukmini, you shouldn't be attached to because her brand new husband is humiliating her brother, but she didn't have any real, she was going completely against her brother's wishes. But still there must have been some kind of family, some attachment. It's very hard to break that. So Balaram was preaching to her how to break that attachment. Don't have any real relationship with the body. Not us. It's like a sleeping person. He sees himself in a dream, but it's all illusion. So if one is not intelligent, he's in the material existence, and it's like that. We think it's real. We think we're this body. We think the so-called possessions of the body, the so-called family of the body, the byproducts of the body, the parents and all the different things, they're real and it's really us. We identify with it and we're being kicked. I was just listening to Prabhupada, a very old lecture, interesting, in New York, and he's talking about the football, how the spirit soul and embodied soul is like the football. And I was just thinking, in America at that time, football meant American football. So they probably couldn't understand the analogy. Because the American football, they're mostly throwing it. They hardly ever kick it. They just kick it a few times. But the football and the soccer game, it's get constantly kicked. And Prabhupada said the kicks is lust and anger. But then when the football is flying through the air, he's thinking, I'm flying through the air. This is so nice. I'm very wonderful. And then he lands and bam, he's kicked again. But we're kicked by lust and anger. Those are the things. Because from lust comes anger. And anger kills. Anger is a terrible thing. It's so powerful. But one has to learn how to use it. Narottam Das made one prayer. I will use these enemies, lust, anger, and greed. I'll use them in the service of Krishna. If we're angry at the demons who are spreading, atheistic philosophy, teaching people there's no God, there's no karma, you only live once, do whatever you want, right? Even in India, I saw a sign on the way here, something about living only once. Enjoy. One I saw in Bombay one time, it said, drive carefully, you only live once. And in Vrindavan, they were advertising luxury condominium. Buy it now and enjoy, because you only live once. You only have one chance to enjoy, so do it now, quick. Don't wait, because you'll get old and you won't be able to enjoy. This is how the Charvak Muni philosophy. So the living entity is being kicked, but while we're in between kicks, we're thinking it's so nice. I'm flying. And we're kicked again and again and again. So we should wake up. It's a dream. There's no connection with the material world, really, no intimate connection. But we're thinking, I am this body, and I want intimate connections with other bodies, whether it's motherly, fatherly, loverly, whatever it is, we want intimate connections. And that usually means physically touching each other. But it's not real. So I want to read the next verse. It's the last one is the next verse. Balaram's enlivening Rukmini, how you're not the body, and don't worry. So it says in the next verse, therefore, with transcendental knowledge, dispel the grief that is weakening and confounding your mind. Please resume your natural mood, O princess, with the pristine smile. Purport, Lord Balaram reminds Srimati Rukmini that she is the eternal goddess of fortune, performing pastimes with the Lord, and should give up her so-called grief. So-called grief. But that's for all of us. We're not the goddess of fortune, we're not anything special, but we're not this body. We're spiritual. We have a relationship with Krishna, and we should remember that. The Bhagavat, these previous statement we find in the Bhagavad-gita very similar. It's if we want to be peaceful in this world, we need to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to read scripture. Because the mundane propaganda, however it's coming, whether it's so-called news or so-called history, so-called fiction, fiction is just non-fiction with the names changed, right? But it's all unreal. But if we, it's very confusing because there's so much contradiction in the news. I don't recommend following the news at all, but anybody can remember, we see different headlines, what's going on in the world, and they contradict, they change all the time. I remember, it was many years ago, some election in America, and they have those two magazines, Time and Newsweek. Jayadvaita Maharaj called it Slime and Newspeak. I don't know if you know what Newspeak. There was a novel predicting the future called 1984, and they called it Newspeak. It was a language. The government was brainwashing the people, Newspeak. So one of those magazines was promoting a particular candidate. The other one was promoting the other candidate. And I would see it every once in a while. And then one of them won, of course. And the magazine that had been promoting the one that won, immediately against him. Because that sells. Previously they were against the other one. They never promote the one, they just criticize the other one. Because nobody has anything good about them. So they just say the other one is, my mother used to say, I'm voting for so-and-so because he's the lesser of two evils. And I was like, doesn't sound, why bother about it, and then we find out later that none of them have any power anyway. It's just, we didn't know, we know, Shishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktirika Chayeva Yasya. The shadow potency is Durga. It's Chana Rupam Apayasya. The creation, maintenance, and destruction, and the confusion, and everything is under the Durga. Govindamadi Prusham. It's not Putin, or it's not Modi, or it's not whoever, they think it is. They're just nobodies. It's either demigods or some Rakshasas, but ultimately it's Krishna working, Krishna's inferior energy working according to the laws that Krishna's made. And then we suffer and enjoy according to our karma. So there's no consistency. They're changing all the time. What is the cause of this problem? Well, that's this one. No, it's that one. No, it's this. Put on a mask. No, take off the mask. Right? Do this, don't do that. But if we read the Bhagavatam, it's consistent. Balaram is preaching here, Krishna is preaching the same way to Arjuna. Give up your distress, give up your identification with the family. It's not real. They're all going to die anyway. They're all getting their own karma. It has nothing to do with you. Even when Krishna went, he went with Dhritarashtra and he went with all the ladies to the battlefield after the war. And the women all had their hair down and they were crying, and they had to find their husbands' bodies and their sons' bodies. That were, sometimes the head was over there and the body was over here. It was a horrible scene. And Gandhari, she said, Krishna, you rascal, you're the Supreme Lord, you could have stopped this. And it's all your fault. Look at how everyone is suffering. Krishna said it was their karma. I couldn't do anything. So she cursed Krishna. She cursed Krishna that his family would fight and kill each other. And he said, thank you, because I didn't know how to rid the world of the others. So we cannot really, exactly understand these things, but this is an instruction for everybody, this last verse. With transcendental knowledge, dispel the grief that is weakening and confounding your mind. Transcendental knowledge. The Bhagavad-gita says the sword of knowledge, right? I saw Prabhupada in one class, and he said, what is a sword? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Japa, Hare Ram. He was moving his fingers on the beads. That's the sword of knowledge. It cuts through the labyrinthian knots of ignorance. You know what labyrinthian is, right? And something about the hellish planets. Just totally complicated, mixed up labyrinth. That's the nature of the material world. And all the thoughts we have from all the garbage that's been poured in school and on the movies and the television and, all these, and it's all rattling around in there and affecting our, vision. So we have to clear it out by putting in the transcendental knowledge and cutting the knot of attachment, the knot in the heart. Shinvata Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. Hearing Krishna Katha is in itself pious activity, the topmost. And then Ridyandak Yabidrani, Vidunoti Suritsitam. Then the knot in the heart is cut, and all this is shattered, everything is liberated. There's an example, probably a knot. If you get a really, really old knot that's dried up and, big one, nobody can open it. But you have to cut it. And there's a famous story from England, I don't know if it's true or not, King Arthur, I think it was. There was this knot. Somebody had, and they did a prediction, I don't know how old that knot was, but they said anyone who can open that knot, they'll be the next king. So many princes from all over were coming. They couldn't open that knot. Then this Arthur came, took the sword, and then of course they'll say anyone could have done that, but nobody thought of it. Prabhupada tells, I think, about Columbus. People said, well, anybody could have gone to America. He said, but nobody did, And then there was I don't know if he challenged somebody or what, but to stand an egg up. So everybody was trying, and they said, it's impossible. I don't know if you ever tried it, but, it'll fall over. And Columbus took it, and he cracked the bottom and stood it up. And they said, well, anybody could do that. He said, yeah, but you didn't. Prabhupada's godbrothers, they said that like that about Prabhupada. They said really crazy things. Well, we're sadhus. He's a businessman. That's why he could organize this big society. No businessman can organize a society to get 10,000 people, wild American hippies chanting Hare Krishna and making temples and, translating books and everything in a few years. It's only spiritual Shakti, only the most powerful sadhu could do that and get this place built. You might have read the book. I'm looking at this thing. I remember when I was here in the very early days, and we were in here with Giriraj Swami and Ashok Birla. And Giriraj Maharaj said, we hope it doesn't fall down. And Ashok Birla said, I hope nobody's under it when it falls down. But so far it didn't fall. Maybe a few pieces fell off. And I think it's been redone, and a lot of work has been done on it. But that these devotees got this place built. So Rabi had no architectural experience, the artist, but he got empowered and did all these temples. And all the devotees. Giriraj managed all this and went through so much. He had no experience. He was a student, studying philosophy, or wasn't studying business. But Prabhupada had that power. He was empowered, and he empowered everybody. And distributing so many books. We were distributing books and just thinking, we're building temples in America. Every dollar, every penny buys a brick or something, Devotees were so enlivened because Prabhupada wanted these temples. And he wanted the books distributed. And the book distribution is increasing and increasing. And we have to dig in, read the book, and be able to share it and inspire people to read it. If they just have the book and they don't read it, that's very good. It has a vibration. I used to say that because everybody, oh, well, I won't read it. And give it to someone else. Don't waste it on me. Right? You ever hear that? So, no. You won't read it for sure if you don't have it. That's guaranteed. If you have it, you're very likely to at least look at it sometime in your life. Some people, many stories, 20, 30 years, they had the Bhagavad-gita before they looked at it. And then they read it in some kind of distressed condition. This one fellow, he had it, and he never looked at it. He was a businessman. He had it on the shelf, though, and he kept it. For some reason, he knew this is Indian. The Bhagavad-gita, you don't throw it away, And his life went totally to hell. He was a drunkard. His wife was leaving him. His business partner was pushing him out of the business. And he decided suicide. He had some poison or something, and he sat at his table, and he saw the Bhagavad-gita. And somehow that time he read it. He just said, let me see, I know. He knew the basic idea, So he started reading the Bhagavad-gita. He just kept reading 1 week or something. He finished the whole book. And then he changed his life completely. He stopped drinking. He got his marriage straightened out. He got his business. Everything came back to, many, many stories like that. Many we don't hear about. But, so there's no loss. There's quite a few devotees I've met who father or mother had the book and never read it. And then they grew up, and when they were a teenager, one boy was looking at spiritual things, and his mother took the Krishna book she bought in the 70s and said, why don't you read this one? And he became a fanatic devotee, like total ISKCON, just by reading that one book. So we have to, understand and have faith in the power of this and use our intelligence. Intelligence is Krishna. We have to make the intelligence strong so that it can drive the chariot. The senses are strong, but if the mind is connected to the intelligence and the intelligence is strong, then it can control all the 5 senses like horses. And that's from reading the Bhagavad-gita that gives us strong intelligence. Reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, these are very, very important. Prabhupada made such an effort first to translate them, and then to make devotees to publish them and distribute them. and then get them translated in so many other languages by sending devotees, brand new devotees going to foreign countries and somehow starting temples. I mean, literally, when Mukunda and the company, Janaki and Govind and Jamuna, Gurudas, Shamsundar, Malat, when they went to San Francisco, Janaki and Mukunda Maharaj had some association with Prabhupada for a few months. Jamuna had a few days. Shamasundar and Malati only heard from, Mukunda was their friend. He was like a leader in their school days. So they just believed him. They read the Bhagavatam, this is it. Gurudas was Jamuna's boyfriend or something. And they started a temple and it grew really fast. They made so many devotees. And they arranged that big rock concert. They brought Prabhupada, and he initiated so many devotees. They had only had read the Bhagavatam a little bit and only met Prabhupada a little bit and had no previous experience in doing this kind of thing. So everyone can be empowered like that there's a saying they make for the Bhakti Vriksha, each one teach one. If everybody teaches one other person to be a devotee, it grows very fast. They have a thing like, if you could have so much money, or if you could take 1 penny or something, and then on a chessboard, and then put 2, and then 4, and then 8, which would you prefer? If you do that, you'll have like millions of dollars or something by the time you get to the end of the chessboard. But most people would say, give me the 100,000 or something, because it's a penny, 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 But once it keeps doubling, that's how the movement is spreading all over the world. This temple, I was here in 78, right after Gaur Purnima. Temple opened in January. There was about 30 devotees. Indian devotees were 5 or 6 that I knew. Maybe and a few others in the kitchen or something. And everyone was from England or America. The Americans had always visa problems. And many crazy things were happening. All kinds of crazy things in history, internally and externally. But now, it's not very long. You can see what it is. I remember going to one Sunday feast in the early days of Radha Gopinath and Chopati. It was about 25 devotees. And they had only the temple room, which is a broken down room. Now, the whole temple room is packed up, downstairs, outside, everywhere. They have to put it on television. So, because just spreading the holy name, teaching the basic principles, and chant the holy name, follow the principles. It's not very complicated. And anyone who does it now, we can go anywhere in Bombay and there's big programs, hundreds of devotees, little temples, preaching centers, satellite. I don't know, they have so many definitions in India. So many different, every temple has Bhakti Vriksha, satellite, this, that, 5 or 6 different. And some of them are way down the line, but they have 150 devotees. So it's your duty then to take this. It's like Prabhupada was told to go and preach in other countries. Other countries, it's not like that. The local people are very slow to come around, much slower to even surrender. but it's happening. It's spreading. So we need teachers. We need traveling people to go everywhere. Every town and village. That a lot of villages in India, millions and millions, all over the world. So many places where devotees have never been. Books are there sometimes. Sometimes people start temples with just a book. They've never met a devotee. And they get their friends to chant, they start following the principles just from having the Bhagavad-gita. So please bless us all that we can keep going, but we can't be crazy. One devotee came to me once in Malaysia and he said, we're all praying that the Prabhupada disciples can live to be 150 years old. I said, well, that's nice, but I think you better pray that you can take up the work, because that's not very likely. You know, it is possible. Some people live that long, but, we're not yogis sitting in the Himalayas and breathing once every couple hours or something, Then you can live hundreds of years, but the young people have to take it up. Krishna will empower anybody. You just want to do it, he'll take care of you. So I want to thank everybody very much. Remember Balaram's teaching to Rukmini, and Nityananda is Balaram, and his teaching to all of us. Vritti Vitteya Teyaka. Nagarati Gram. He predicted also to be spread in every town and village. The holy name of Lord Chaitanya will be chanted. So it's happening. Hare Krishna is quite well known, but it's surprising. In America, even Los Angeles, that temple's been there since 1969 or something, the same spot. But some of the people just down the street, they don't know. They live in their house and they come out, they drive the other direction. They never even pass the temple. They're caught up in their life. Sometimes there's a big sign, and they're driving by on the main road. And after many years, they come and they say, I thought about it for many years. Kept seeing that sign, Hare Krishna. Finally, but they're rushing somewhere. And they have to go around and, so they just, next time, I'll do it tomorrow. We have to catch them. We have to be out. Bombay also, people are caught up in so much Maya, so much allurement, so much illusion. But the more they see devotees catch them, pull them in the Prema Mahajala, the net of Prema, Lord Chaitanya's Prema Mahajala net, pulling everybody in, out from the ocean of material suffering. So I'll stop. We have to hear some comment or reflection or question. Anybody?
Thank you very much, Maharaj. So you were there here as a general manager in ISKCON Juhu for some time. So what is that, any incident which you remembered, which you would like to share with us, which made you feel afterwards to take up a responsibility of a devotee care?
Devotee care?
Yeah, I heard that you presented many seminars on this devotee care.
Yeah.
In that tenure in ISKCON Juhu, any connections which you inspired?
Okay, well, the way the term came about and a little bit organization was on the GBC, somehow they asked, what do we think are the important things? So they came up with 6 different things. And one was outreach preaching. So we were meeting, and then one devotee from Ukraine said, you know, what is the use of our preaching if we're not taking care of the devotees we already have? And then we started talking about that, and then that committee changed the Devotee Care Committee. And then we found that devotees were really interested in that idea. So now it's become, you know, many temples, they have devotee care section. Vaishnava Seva, you know, that serving the devotees. So that's part of, you know, and so now there's a whole, you know, there's a whole course, you know, and it's very popular what it takes to organize yourselves and to take care of devotees. I'm just faced with one issue in one temple where one brahmachari, you know, he's been a brahmachari 40 years, and he's the only brahmachari in the whole country, most of the time. And now he's 65 years old, and he's getting a little... But some of the patrons of the temple, we can't afford to give him any medicine. You know. It's not productive, although he's been distributing books for 40 years. So we need to have that consciousness, because all devotees we're gonna get old. You know, everybody is gonna get old and maybe need care. But everybody needs, you know, basic material care, food and shelter, dentist, medical checkups, you know, right? You have to make sure. But then there's mental care. It's much more difficult to deal with. Kali Yuga, so many people come with a terrible load of baggage, we think, you know. In America, many come that their whole family's been taking these antidepressants for years, dog, you know, and then they stop, nobody knows, and they need, and then spiritual care, we have to make sure everybody's chanting their rounds and following principles. But, you know, if sometimes someone's not able to do that, and we'll think he's in Maya, but maybe he's sick, right? Maybe they're sick and they don't tell anybody, or they don't even know themselves. So we need different levels, but it begins with the consciousness. Like Chopati Temple was noted for that. But they didn't think of it until it came up, the need for it. All of a sudden they realized they had these issues. And then they got, you know, committees and for different things. And then so we have to, you know, organize our devotee doctors so people know who they are and how to access them, what kind of care everybody needs. Make sure everybody gets good prasadam. And those who can't eat the regular prasadam, sometimes they should get what's healthy. It's a matter of consciousness, love. You know, charity begins at home. So we take care of the devotees, and then people are attracted when they see that is there, that family loving, you know, concern for everybody else, ready to sacrifice your own comfort to take care of another person. Because we see, you know, how I was saying it myself, like, I've been preaching for 50 years, we could die any minute. You know, a couple of years ago, I realized, yeah, that's a fact. I could die any minute, you know. Time is ticking away, you know. So, and nowadays with all the internet, practically every day, please offer prayers for so-and-so, our God brother who's just been in the hospital and is ready to leave his body any minute. Start to think, better get serious. But we better take care of the young ones also, so that, that they can have a society which is taking care of everything from cradle to grave, All right, Sandhya.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. So when it comes to, you mentioned these different types of care, physical care, giving some commodities. But when it comes to mental care, as you mentioned, it is very, very troublesome. Emotional care. So any particular measurements you suggest, any things in a devotee care?
Well, basic emotional care is just if we're really in a loving, compassionate mood like we're supposed to be. But for someone who's mentally ill, that's a very difficult. Physical care is mechanical, It's not so difficult. Broken bones or, infections, it's everybody knows what the medicine is and how to fix it. Teeth falling out, but the mental health is very, very difficult. So, but we are, more and more devotees are studying in that field, and we have to access. And if we have genuine care, genuine love for each other, that's a big factor. Although when someone is depressed, they never believe you. You don't really care, you're just saying that to make me feel good, they say that. Right? So why would I say it to make you feel good if I didn't care? No, you don't mean it. It's very difficult for both. That's why we need, professionals, people who actually, hopefully we can have more and more of those within our own society. Sometimes we have to go outside also. Arjuna was distressed. Rukmini was distressed with this preaching. If they can hear it and we can really believe it ourselves and share it, it can help most people to get us out of the illusion that we're this body. So thank you very much. There is a devotee care course. Have you taken it? Huh?
I just attended seminar, Maharaj. Online seminar I had.
Yeah, take that course. It's very thorough. Devotees are traveling around teaching it and very happy with that. Okay? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Lord Balaram ki jai. Gaur Nityananda Hari 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 Bol.
His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj ki jai.